Hello everyone, my name is Dhanushri, third year BE in Information Science and Engineering student at Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, Bengaluru. Today's topic of my presentation is working of Django URLs, configurations and loose coupling. From the subject Full Stack Development 21 CS 62. Introduction to Django. First of all, what is Django? Django is a web framework, a high-level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and clean programmatic design. Django helps the developers to develop a application using the Django web framework by giving them a clean and a programmatic design approach. So what is the MVC architecture? Django allows the MVC architectural pattern, that is model, weave and controller. It separates the code by the concern of the separation because the code should work properly. So first of all, what is model? Model is the one which manages the data in the database. If you're having any website, if you have the backend like SQL or a PostgreSQL, NoSQL, then that type of data or a database is managed by the model in MVC architecture. The view manages what is presented to the user. Weave is the one which the user sees in the website, and the controller is the one which manages the logic and the user input. Whenever the user requests any URL, the controller is the one which manages the to accept the URL request and then generate the HTTP response according to the particular request. So understanding the URL configurations. So what are URL configurations? URL configurations short for URL comps are short for URL configurations. They map the URL patterns to the views.urls.py, that is our views file in Python. So the file which contains a list of URL patterns and their corresponding views. Role is directs the HTTP request to the appropriate view based on the URL. As I already said that the controller is the one which controls the HTTP request and the response. The URL configurations are the one whose role is nothing but directs the HTTP request to the appropriate views based on the URL request. The basic URL configuration example is, here we are importing the path function from the Django URLs model, and then we are also importing the views from the current directory. The current directory is represented as only the dot, and we are importing the views file, that is Python file, from the correct directory. So we have the URL patterns list. As we know that the list in the list data type is in the Python is represented using the square brackets. We add the URL patterns list, and we have the path for the views.home and views.about. Views is nothing but the Python file which we have created for the thing which the user sees. From the views, we are also importing the home function and the about function. The home function is nothing but like a home thing. Whenever we visit the website, we first visit the home function of that website, and then about is nothing but however like whenever we visit the about the website, we can see that when the website or when the organization has been started and what are the services or consultancies they are into. So that's the thing about the about, and we are importing both the things into the URLs pattern. So next is URL dispatcher. URL dispatcher is nothing but the mechanism in which Django processes and matches the URLs to the views. It is the process in which or a URL dispatcher's role is nothing but it connects the URLs to the views function which we have written in a Python file called as views.py. Then the order of a URL's patterns is nothing but Django checks each URL pattern in order. The first match is used, so order is important. Whenever we are defining the patterns, like whenever we have to define the URL patterns in the URLs patterns list, we have to define it in a particular order. Whenever Django goes and searches the URL patterns, the first one which gets matches, it corresponds the URLs to the same views.py. So we can't reorder the order, like whatever we want, we must follow the URL patterns order, like in a standard order. So URL patterns is a list again. Here, as I already explained in the previous slide, here about will first match and then followed by the root URL, including other URL functions configurations. Include function is nothing but used to reference other URL configuration, helps in modularizing the URL configurations. Whenever we define the URLs of our current app, like for example, if we create a daytime app, then we have to create the URLs .py function Python file in a daytime app. So whereas we want to include that URLs of our current app into the uh, directory or the full stack project when we are creating a full stack project. So we need to use the include function to include our URL patterns, URLs file of our app which we are creating into the project's URLs pattern. So from Django, we are URLs module, we are importing the include and path function, and URLs patterns, as I already said, blog and shop are the URLs from both the apps called as blog and shop apps. So we are including those apps URL into the project's URL pattern. So here the which includes the blog include blog.urls includes the URL patterns from the blogs. I mean the data or the app which we have is blog, and in the blog app we have the urls.py, and in next we have the shop app, and in that shop app we have the urls.py. We are including both the blog app's URL and the shops app URL into the project's URL main file. So in order to the URL dispatcher links the project's directory to the app's directory. Namespacing URL names. Namespacing is nothing but it helps avoid conflicts by prefixing URL names with the app's namespace. So we are again importing the path function from the URLs module, and the app name is here nothing but blog, and we are also including the views.index in the from the views function or the views file. We are including the index function, and we are giving the name as the index, and from the views module we are importing the post function, and for that post function we are also giving the int id, which is nothing but we'll have a one id, and whenever this id get matches to this type of a post or a function which we have defined in the views.py file, then the URL comes to this, and whenever the URL dispatcher encounters this type of a post id, it comes to the function where we have defined the actual function in the views.py, and then it renders that page to the user. So the app name is blog, sets the namespace for the blog app. URL naming is nothing but it allows for user for like a blog that is index, and a blog colon post detail, as I already explained. So loose coupling in Django. Loose coupling is a design principle aimed at reducing the interdependencies between the different components of a system. Loose coupling is nothing but when we have talked about the Django architecture, it follows the MVC architecture. MVC is nothing but model view controller. In other architectures, if we follow this, if we don't follow the MVC architecture, we need to integrate all the three codes into the same file. Whenever we want to change the one file, it interdepends on the other file. Whenever we want to change the views.py file, we can't simply change the views.py file. It side affects the urls.py file or models.py file and templates also. So in the MVC pattern, we are all separate. We have the concern of separation, and we are separating all the files from each other. And if we want to then update the views.py file, anyhow, we can change the views.py file without having to bother about the what models.py file and HTML files or anything if we have in the directory. So that is nothing but a loose coupling. The benefits is easier maintenance, like components can be updated independently, as I already said, and better modularity. Components can be reused across different parts of the application. If we define some function in views.py file, we can also access it or use it in another views.py file. Improved testability is nothing but components can be tested in isolation. Whenever we want to test a a particular component or such as views.py or uls.py, we can test it in a isolated environment. Like we can only test the views.py or only test the urls.py, or both in an integrated manner we can test it. So Django's approach to loose coupling. App structure. Django promotes loose couplings through its modular app structure. Separation of concern. As I already said, that MVC pattern has the concern of separation or separation of concerns. So it separates all the three like architecture, like MVC architecture. It follows the MVC architecture. Each app handles a specific functionality. Components are models, views, and templates, and URL configurations are separated. Example, an e-commerce site which separate apps for products, orders, and users. Real world example is blog application. In the blog application structure, first we create the blog app in the projects directory by python manage.py start app blog app, or a blog, whenever whatever name you want to give to the project app. So then we create the models.py, views.py, urls.py, and the templates directory. In the templates directory we can have these html files which helps in presentation of the website to the user. In blocks application.urls, from Django URLs module, we are also importing the path function, and the current directory we are importing the views, and the app name is blog, and we are including the URL patterns, like we are importing the views, and hence from the views we are importing the index function, index method or index function, and naming it as an index, and then post method, post detail method, and we have this integer id for that. And whenever the URL dispatcher encounters this id, then it comes and renders this page to the user. Here the app name is blog, as I already said, and the namespace is the URL. And then views.index and name is equals to index is a root URL mapped to the index view. Here from dot import views, nothing is nothing but a current directory or a root directory where we are creating the app. So it is the root URL mapped to the index view. And then post int id views.post detail, and name is equal to post detail is nothing but a URL with a dynamic segment, which is the int id mapped to the post detail view. Whenever the user clicks on this int colon id, it renders the page to the post detail view. Blog application views. From Django shortcuts, we will import the render and get we can get the object or a 404. 404 is nothing but a not found error. From the models, that is current directory models, we are importing the post method. And if you want to post anything, or if you want to send anything, whenever we are filling the forms and all, we need to post the things to the website. So post is equal to post.objects.all, means we need to collect all the objects from the post method and then render the request to the blog in the blogs app index.html. We have this file index.html in the templates. We need to render that template, and we need to fill in those details which the user have given into that index.html. And then we have the post detail method, which also gets the object whenever the user requests the object, or if it is not there. 404 means if it is not there, then it is giving the 404 error, and then it is requesting the post detail.html. Whenever the user requests this thing, the blog's post detail.html will be rendered. Index view is the one which fetches all the posts and renders the index.html template, and the post detail view is the one which fetches the post by id and renders the post detail.html templates. Benefits of loose coupling in Django. Improved code maintainability. Changes in one part of the code do not affect the others. Easier testing. Components can be tested independently. Enhanced modularity. Components can be used and recombined in a different ways. Conclusion. Summary. Django URL configurations is nothing but efficient URL routing mechanisms. Loose coupling is nothing but enhances the maintainability and modularity. Real-world examples are nothing but blog and e-commerce applications illustrated these concepts, as we already seen. Key takeaway is nothing but proper URL configuration and adherence to loose coupling principles lead to scalable and maintainable Django applications, which can develop into a very useful web applications. That's all for this video. Thank you.